So then you remember the pallets of cash that Obama and Biden sent to Iran. The quote-unquote fact checkers at the time tried to deny that the Obama administration did this because it's so horrific to send a state sponsor of terror pallets of cash in unmarked bills so it couldn't be traced. Was this cash spent on terror activities or was it spent on humanitarian aid? Well, I'll leave you to guess. But Biden was a key part in brokering that original Iran deal that the Trump administration got out of because it was a disaster, that Biden, now that he is commander-in-chief, is now trying to get the United States to re-enter. The latest result of that is Biden unfroze $6 billion in cash to give to Iran. And I know the arguments. I've read them. I've heard them. The Biden administration is claiming that $6 billion hasn't formally been given to Iran. It is still in a bank account, a secure bank account in Qatar, and therefore that money could not have directly been used to fund the terror attacks against Israel. Do you think we're stupid? Money is fungible. And so this $6 billion, even if it technically goes to something ambiguous or something neutral, even if it goes to school children and humanitarian aid, what do you think that having that $6 billion does? It frees up the money that Iran was going to use for something else so that Iran can then use the money that they already have for terror attacks. That's where you get the phrase, money is fungible. Iran budgets very closely. They know exactly what they have the money to spend on. They know exactly how to launder cash. And the Biden administration was aware of this. So the leader of Iran says, in contradiction to the Biden administration's denial that Iran will use this cash for terrorism, the leader of Iran says he knows exactly how he'll use the money. Take a look at this.
But what is your expectation of its use? We're told that it's for humanitarian purposes, food and medicine. Do you believe you have the right to use that money in any way that you see fit?
This money belongs to the Islamic Republic of Iran, and naturally, we will decide, the Islamic Republic of Iran will decide to spend it wherever we need it.
So if I hear you clearly, that it will be used for more than humanitarian purposes in your view?
Humanitarian means whatever the Iranian people needs. So this money will be budgeted for those needs.
Okay.
And
you can stop the video. The leader of Iran, when challenged about how Iran is going to use the $6 billion in cash that Biden unfroze and gave to Iran, says that they will decide how it's used. Even when asked by, who was that, Lester Holt? Even when asked by Lester Holt whether the money is going to be going to humanitarian aid, the leader of Iran says, we in Iran will decide how we're going to use that cash. Yes, we know exactly how you're going to use that cash. And the Biden administration does as well. Anthony Blinken acknowledged that money is fungible and acknowledged that because money is fungible, when you give money to Iran, even if it is earmarked for humanitarian aid, it can be used for other things like terrorism. This is Blinken. Take a listen.
What do you say about the argument that money is fungible? So Iran may have known this money is coming and used other funds to help fund this attack that happened.
Iran has unfortunately always used and focused its funds on supporting terrorism, on supporting groups like Hamas. And it's done that when there have been sanctions. It's done that when there haven't been sanctions. And it's always prioritized that. And again, I come back to the proposition that these funds have always been, under the law, available to Iran to use for humanitarian purposes.
So Anthony Blinken, understands that money is fungible, and he acknowledges that Iran uses money to fund not only terrorism in general, but to support Hamas attacking Israel specifically. We also have John Kirby saying that, yes, it is possible that Iran is going to use this money that Biden has unfrozen for terrorism. Let's take a listen to John Kirby.
You insist the Iranian regime won't touch the $6 billion of Iranian funds being unfrozen. But isn't it true that this frees Tehran up to spend more on other nefarious goals like supporting terrorism and boosting its nuclear program?
Well, to the degree that they continue destabilizing activities, and it's, I can't predict what they'll do going forward here, but we already have pressure in place on Iran, both through sanctions and through our military presence in the Gulf region. We won't hesitate to take additional actions as we see further destabilizing activity by Iran. But
critics say it frees up other funds for Iran to finance terrorism. The exiled son of Iran's last Shah calling history the best guide.
We saw what happened to the money that was released to the Iranian regime under the Obama administration.
Okay, well, let's pause it right there. So we have Anthony Blinken and John Kirby both admitting that money is fungible and that Iran uses money that they get for terrorism, specifically to fund Hamas and Hamas's attacks on Israel. So we have Iran. The Wall Street Journal, by the way, confirmed last night what we all knew to be true, that Iran was an integral part of these terror attacks that Hamas waged on Israel. There was a meeting that took place between Iranian leaders and Hamas leaders that in which, during this meeting, Iranian leaders gave the authorization for this attack to go ahead. This doesn't even take into account the funding or the weaponry or anything else that Iran has contributed to Hamas now or in the past that enabled this attack. So we have a pretty clear picture of Iran's role in this attack. They were an integral part of this. Then we have Joe Biden, who has enabled Iran at every turn by giving them secret pallets of cash, by removing inspectors from Iran's nuclear energy. They're trying to create a nuclear bomb, and they're pretending that it's for peaceful purposes. Obviously, it's not. They're enriching uranium. Not only did Biden get us into that deal during the Obama administration, he's now trying to rejoin it. And then, of course, we have reports that when Biden forced the U.S. to withdraw from Afghanistan, the botched withdrawal that resulted in the death of over a dozen U.S. service members, the U.S. also abandoned an untold number of weapons of war, leaving them in Afghanistan. And there are reports that these weapons are showing up in the hands of Palestinian terrorists. So it's impossible to decouple the attacks that Hamas has waged on Israel from Iran's role in making that possible and Biden's role in enabling Iran. Impossible. And yet that's why you have the media already beginning to sanitize this violence that's happening on Israelis, the violence that's being inflicted by Hamas, by Palestinian terrorists on innocent Israelis. And by the way, not just Israelis. There are reports that American citizens have been murdered and that American citizens are among those who have been taken hostage by Hamas. Biden's role cannot be ignored. And it's not just Biden. It's not just stupidity. If you look at the entire left, the entire Democratic Party in the United States, there's a growing portion of the Democratic Party who seem to be apologists for Hamas and seem to refuse to want to defend Israel. The Squad specifically, Rashida Tlaib, AOC, and Ilhan Omar's responses are abhorrent.
Watch the First TV anywhere, anytime with the free First TV app. Watch all your favorite First TV programs live or on demand from your favorite connected device. Download the free First TV app right now and start watching today.